Hi, everybody. It's Mrs. Eshoff here at home. I miss seeing all of your faces every day at school, so I thought I would come up with a way that we can have a short connection. And that is why I'm going to share something with you today that is very special to me and my family, and that's music. And in particular, I wanted to introduce you to one of my favorite pieces of music. It's called Peter and the Wolf. And I'm sure that some of you are already familiar with Peter and the Wolf, but I'd like to introduce it to all the rest of you because it's a very special piece of music. Peter and the Wolf was written almost 100 years ago by a Russian composer named Sergei Prokofiev. And he wrote the entire piece of music in 2 weeks, which is pretty amazing when you think about it. He wrote it for a children's theater in Moscow, Russia. And it's lasted all this time because it's a really fun piece of music. And what he did was write the music for a very large orchestra to play at the same time as a narrator is telling the story of Peter and the Wolf. The way it works is each character in the story is represented by an instrument or a group of instruments in the orchestra, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So what I want to do today for you is to read a short version of the story, Peter and the Wolf, in a very cool book that I have. It's a pop-up book. It's got great pictures. I hope you can see them. And then I want to tell you a little bit about the characters in the story and what instruments in the orchestra are representing them. And then I would like to demonstrate one of those characters for you. Some of you know that I play the clarinet, and the clarinet is one of the characters in Peter and the Wolf. And maybe while you're listening to this story, you can guess which one it is. But after we talk a little bit about which instruments represent which characters, I'm going to demonstrate the clarinet part for you. So here we go with Peter and the Wolf. Early one morning, Peter opened the gate and walked out into the big green meadow. In a tall tree sat Peter's friend, a little bird. Everything is calm and quiet, the bird chirped merrily. Waddling behind Peter came a duck. The duck, delighted that Peter had not closed the gate, decided to take a swim in the pond. Seeing the duck, the little bird flew down and settled on the grass. "What kind of a bird are you if you can't fly?" "And what kind of a bird are you if you can't swim?" the duck replied. They argued and argued, the duck swimming around the pond, the little bird hopping along the shore. Suddenly, Peter noticed a cat creeping toward the bird. "Look out!" he shouted, and the bird flew up into the tree. The cat stalked around the tree. "Is it worth my while to climb so high?" he thought. "By the time I get up there, the bird will have flown away." Peter's grandfather came out of the house. He was angry because Peter had gone into the meadow. "It is a dangerous place," he said. "If a wolf should come out of the forest, then what would you do?" Peter paid no attention to his grandfather's words, for boys such as he are not afraid of wolves. Nevertheless, grandfather took Peter's hand, led him home, and closed the gate firmly. No sooner had Peter gone than a huge gray wolf did come out of the woods. In a flash, the cat was up the tree. The duck quacked and in her excitement scrambled out of the pond. But no matter how fast the duck ran, the wolf ran faster. He came closer and closer. He caught up with her, he grabbed her, and in one gulp he swallowed her. So the cat sat on one branch of the tree, the little bird on another, not too close to the cat. And the wolf, looking up with hungry eyes, paced underneath. Peter had watched everything from behind the gate. He ran and got a strong rope. Then, scrambling up on the high stone wall, he grabbed hold of one of the branches of the tree and climbed up nimbly. "Fly down around the wolf's nose," he said to the bird, "but be very careful that he doesn't catch you." The bird almost touched the wolf's nose with her wings while the wolf snapped angrily. Meanwhile, Peter had made a lasso with his rope, caught the wolf by his tail, pulled with all his strength. The wolf jumped about, trying to get free, but he could not. Peter tied the other end of the rope to the tree. The more the wolf raged, the tighter the rope around his tail became. Just then, some hunters came out of the forest. Peter called out, "Please don't shoot. We have already caught the wolf. Just help us take him to the zoo." And so they did. Imagine the triumphant procession. Peter walked at the head. After him, the hunters leading the wolf. At the end of the parade were Grandfather and the cat. Grandfather shook his head gloomily. He said, "What if Peter had not caught the wolf? What would have happened then?" Overhead flew the bird. "Hooray for Peter and me," he sang. "Look at what we have caught." And if you listen carefully, you can hear the duck quacking inside the wolf's stomach. For the wolf, in his hurry, had swallowed her whole and alive. So there you have it. There's the story of Peter and the wolf. You can see that the wolf is now in the zoo with all the other animals, and lots of people are looking at him. I hope you can see that. Okay. All right, so that's the story of Peter and the wolf. It's a very short version of it. It's a little bit longer when it's actually performed with the orchestra. So now I wanted to tell you a little bit about which animals or which characters in the story are represented by which instruments. So first of all, there's the bird, and the bird is represented by the flute. Some of you I know play the flute, so you can imagine how fun that would be to be the bird in this story. And then the next animal is the duck, and the duck is played by an oboe. An oboe kind of looks like a clarinet, only it's a little bit different. And then the cat is played by the clarinet, which is what I'm going to play for you in just a minute. The grandfather in the story is represented by the bassoon. I don't know if you know what a bassoon is, but it's a very long, brown, tubular instrument. And the wolf is represented by the French horns. Peter himself is represented by the whole string section of the orchestra, which is pretty cool. And the hunters' shotguns are represented by the kettle drums or the timpani, and also the big bass drum. So when you go to a performance, or when you're listening to a performance of Peter and the Wolf, when you're hearing the narrator talk about a particular character in the story, in the background, you'll hear the music that goes with that character. So just to give you an example, I wanted to play a little bit for you right now of what the cat music sounds like in Peter and the Wolf. And here it goes. Can you imagine a cat listening to that, climbing up the tree and trying to catch the bird? Anyways, I hope that you've enjoyed our little lesson, and I also hope that you can click on the link that I'm going to provide to your teachers, where you can hear an actual performance, see and hear a performance of Peter and the Wolf by the Vancouver Symphony. Their conductor also is doubling as the narrator. And he does a pretty good job at the very beginning of the performance explaining and showing you which instruments are going to be which character in the story. So I hope you enjoy it, and I hope that we can get together again soon in another episode of whatever, Mrs. Eshoff's Music. Take care. Bye bye.